Being part of some of the biggest academies in the world and coming through them, like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Manchester United, brings significant pressure on a young player who is rising through the ranks in skyrocketing fashion. And that is exactly what Ansu Fati did before the injury crisis started that has been plaguing his career for the past couple months. What's up, guys? It's Let's Talk Football here, and today we look at Ansu Fati's future with Barcelona and if he should leave or stay at the club. "Mom, I'm going to the first team," is what Ansu Fati exclaimed over the phone when he heard the news. It was August 2019, and then Barcelona boss Ernesto Valverde wanted him.
What do you mean by that?
A new La Liga season had just started, and the team was missing a host of players up front. None of Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, or Ousmane Dembele were at the coach's disposal. Fati was just 16 years old, but in a few days' time, he would embark on the dream of a lifetime. He had jumped from the youth team straight into the senior squad in a move reminiscent of his agent Rodrigo Messi's more famous brother. On August 25th, Barcelona hosted Real Betis at the Camp Nou. Barca had bad memories of Betis' last visit when the Andalusian side had beaten them 4-3. In the 77th minute, Arturo Vidal scored a stunning goal to make it 5-1 to Barca. Fati's moment had come. Valverde told him to make his way to the pitch, and the forward prepared to take the field amid a standing ovation for Carlos Perez, who had been rewarded for his performance with a goal. Fati high-fived Perez, set foot onto the pitch, and in that moment became the second youngest debutant in Barcelona's history. He tried to pull the usual poker face for most players when they run on, but his boyish grin gave him away. He was a child fulfilling his dream. Over the next 4.5 months, Fati would break many records and win the hearts of the entire Barcelona fan base, mirrored a deep sporting crisis. Supporters pinned their hopes on the 16-year-old, who was a bright spark in an otherwise gloomy period. The list of Fati's landmarks goes some way to explaining why his first steps were so exciting. 6 days after his debut, he became the club's youngest ever goalscorer in a match against Osasuna. A fortnight later against Valencia, he made the starting lineup for the first time. He became the youngest player to start at the Camp Nou, the youngest to score and assist in a single game in La Liga, and the youngest to score at Barca's famous home ground. Ansu Fati is something special. It's not normal for anybody to score so many goals so soon, Valverde said after the game against Valencia. 3 days later, Fati became the youngest Barca player in the Champions League in a group stage clash with Borussia Dortmund. Then he came on with 5 minutes left of Barca's clash with Inter Milan and scored the winner, becoming the youngest Champions League goal scorer in the history at 17 years old and 40 days. And that all happened within a 5-month span after his debut. His streak continued in 2020 as he made his debut for Spain against Germany on September 3rd, becoming the youngest player since 1936. 3 days later, he became the national team's youngest goal scorer in a 4-0 win against Ukraine. On October 20th, he became the youngest player to score multiple goals in the Champions League with a strike against Fenerbahce. 4 days after that, he scored against Real Madrid to become the second youngest scorer in the El Clasico history. Fati's career could not have gotten off to a better start, and it seemed if he would go from strength to strength for Barca. Then came November. Barca were hosting Betis again, but this time the match would mark Fati in an altogether different way. Half an hour into the game, he was tackled by defender Asi Mandi. Fati's knee turned sharply and he had to be treated on the pitch. Fati was replaced at halftime and would not return to the field of play until many months later. His ordeal began the following day. The diagnosis was a ruptured inner meniscus in his left knee, a complicated injury which requires a long time to recover. The procedure used to treat Fati's injury made sense for his age. However, it is then that things took a turn for the worst, and it was unclear whether there was blame to be attached or if Fati suffered bad luck. According to the source close to the doctor, who had to remain anonymous to protect their positions, Fati returned to Barca after 10 days and they took charge as rehab. The source added that Fati called a doctor a few weeks later to tell him his knee had become inflamed. The forward told him that with Barca, he was undergoing 2 recovery sessions per day, one more than he was supposed to. Former employees at Barca who were responsible for Fati's recovery did not respond when approached for comments. Neither did Fati's family. Fati was due to return to the field in spring of 2021, just as he underwent a 3rd operation on his knee. He went to Madrid to continue and recover, and 2 months later he underwent a meniscectomy, where the affected part of his meniscus was removed. It was the 4th operation in 6 months. Fati would make his return to the pitch in September 26, 2021 against Levante, and he did so in style. Then Barca boss Ronald Koeman brought him on in the 80th minute, and 10 minutes later he scored the final goal in a 3-0 win. Everybody thought it was a happy ending for Fati's nightmare, but it wasn't. He would play 6 more games before being forced to be taken off due to discomfort in his right knee against Rayo Vallecano. Just over a month later, the forward suffered another injury against Celta Vigo, and this time it was an injury to his left thigh, meaning 2 more months on the sidelines. He returned for the semi-finals of the Supercopa de España against Real Madrid. It took him 17 minutes to score and equalize, so forcing the match into extra time and giving his team a shot at the final despite being out of action for 2 months. It was proof that he needed very little time to make a difference. That was in early January last year, and it seemed as if the ordeal was over, but the feeling of liberation did not last long. Against Athletic Bilbao later that month, he relapsed. Although the club asked the player to undergo surgery, he wanted to follow a more conventional treatment rather than go under the knife again. And yet again, it left Barca fans and coaches disappointed that Fati was so injury prone. For Fati, it had been a tough period for one of the most talented young players to have worn the Barca shirt in a long time. Many saw him as the second coming of Lionel Messi through the Barca Academy, and they even embraced in Messi's last day at the club. There were always parallels between the two players. Maybe it is because Messi's brother Rodrigo was Fati's agent, or perhaps because the Argentina forward saw in Fati a different player from the rest, but it made sense to describe him as Messi's successor. When Messi left the club, it was Fati who inherited the number 10 shirt, and the recent Amazon Prime documentary, The New Era of Barca, Fati said the club asked him to do so, and he asked for the captain's advice. They all agreed and he took the number as a result. Both players made a leap from the youth ranks to the first team without having played for Barcelona, and both had the kind of a spark you only see once in a generation. However, the difference is that one is plagued with injuries and the other one was not, and he went on to be one of the best in the world. Will Fati be another youngster with a what-if story, or can he finally recover through these injuries? Will Barca have had enough by the time he is through with these injuries, however, and move on to another club? It's highly unlikely as he is one of their star players at their academy, but anything is possible when the right price comes around. What do you guys think? What's best for Fati's career? Should he stay at Barca, fight through the injuries, and get back into the first team, or move somewhere else after his injury crisis is over and start fresh? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you guys in the next one.